So you're wondering why I'm not my normal happy-go-lucky self that I usually am? I will show you, and I will tell you why. This, over the last 40 years, has made me crazier than anything else in my job as a photographer. I'm just going to show it to you, read it, you'll figure it out. You guys know what I'm talking about. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So on Facebook, that's mistake number one. It eats half your time. But anyway, I'm a member of one of the camera brands on there. And this popped up and I thought, oh God. Well, what I thought of it is not important. I'm going to read it to you guys and you tell me what you think about it. Hi everyone. I'm not going to mention any names or anything. So, hi everyone. I have my first wedding photo shoot this coming week. Good for you. And all my photos are blurry. Very bad. I don't know how to change the settings so they're crisp. Even worse. Help. Oh my God. I have a Canon T7. Example below is without edits. I'm not sure what to do. Help. I'm not going to post their picture. I'm not going to give you their name. But in my little over 40 years I've been doing this, this has been the single biggest problem photographers have. That is people who think they're photographers. They're not photographers, they're picture takers. And there's no such thing as a professional picture taker. This poor bride has got this person to do their wedding. Probably thinks they're a real photographer because there's no credentials to really check for a photographer. Now, if you got a doctor's office, if I go buy a stethoscope, doesn't mean I'm a doctor because I hang it around my neck. But if you open a doctor's office, somebody's going to be looking for some credentials. But anybody can open a photography studio. Good Lord. Hey guys, I just want to take this second of your time. If you guys would please hit like and subscribe, it would go a long ways toward helping our channel and help us keep making these videos. Thank you. We've got to educate the public that just because somebody has a camera doesn't mean they're a photographer. No more than driving my car means I'm a race car driver. I don't really have the answer for this. I've been a member of the professional photographers for years, but even that isn't foolproof. I wish we had a system to where they just wouldn't let anybody say they're a photographer. Just like you can't run around saying you're a lawyer or you're a doctor or a surgeon or whatever. It really bothers me. And what the bad part of this is, forget the problems with this so-called photographer, the bride that has booked her for her wedding. Does she know what she's got? Now, is it the bride's fault for not checking a website? Yeah, it is. But we need to educate the public that they can do that. They need to check these things. If you hire a photographer and somebody's referred to you and somebody knows them really well and you know that person really well, I'd still check them out. But these people that just, here, I'll do your wedding. We've had calls for years. People will call and we'll talk, well, how much is the price? And, you know, $2,000. And they're like, well, I got a friend that can do it for $500. I'm like, well, good luck with that. And I always tell them, you're going to get what you pay for. And you'll probably end up calling me after your wedding, wanting me to fix this mess that your photographer got you into, your quote unquote photographer got you into. But you can't fix a lot of things that somebody's going to screw up at your wedding. And you're only having this wedding once. So you really got one chance. You really, if you ever needed a real professional photographer on a day, it's when your wedding is. That's not the day to hire somebody down the road that has a camera that says they're a photographer. It is the person's responsibility to check their work. Make sure you like the person. But we don't have a way really to confirm. I mean, I can meet somebody that I don't know. I can check out my website, hear some references, whatever, and then go look at it and they can see if they like the work. But there's really no professional license that somebody has to call themselves a photographer. And I think that needs to change. And if there's one thing after 40 years, looking back at everything I've done and I've been through, I wish they would change. I wish there was somehow they could change this. And here, to be a photographer, a professional photographer, you have to have a license. I'm not pro-government. I'm not for government getting involved in everything. But this is one area that would save a lot of brides' heartache that I've seen over the years. And they call me after their wedding and their picture. A few years ago, had a family member that was getting married. And they were out of town. And they had a friend going to do the wedding. And I said, well, I'm going to come to the area. We're headed out of town. I said, just after the reception, give me 20 minutes and let me just shoot some pictures of y'all. I want to make sure I have the bride and groom. And they said, yeah, that's fine. So I get there and I see this photographer and I can tell ahead of time these are going to be really spectacular. So anyway, it's a good thing I shot their pictures for 20 minutes after their wedding because that's the only pictures they got. The guy never delivered any pictures. I can tell you why he never delivered any, because they're all terrible. I could tell by the way he was shooting, he didn't have a clue what he was doing. But anyway, so that's a story of my own family. And I had a feeling this might be the case. That's why I wanted to make sure that I spent 20 minutes with them to get some good shots of the bride and groom, because that's the most important. Now they were really tight on the budget, and this guy was apparently a friend and a photographer. And anyway, I've seen this story play out so many times in my career that it's countless now. I can't even tell you how many times it's happened. But I've had multiple people that I've talked to, when I told you this story earlier about people calling me, wanting a price and talking, and then they go, well, I've got somebody that'll do it for $400 or $500. And I'm like, well, here's what you're going to get for that $400 or $500. And then half the time they call me back a month or two after their wedding going, oh God, it's terrible. The pictures are bad, they're out of focus. Can you fix them? I'm like, no, I can't fix an out of focus picture. But anyway, I'm going to get off my high horse on that for a minute, but I really wish there was a way that we could put something in a professional photographer's hand, take a test, do an exam, do whatever we have to do, get some kind of credentials in somebody's hand that say, hey, this person legitimately knows at least a little bit about what they're doing. But let me tell you some of the responses this person got. And again, it was my first wedding photo shoot this coming weekend. All my photos are blurry. I don't know how to change my settings to make them crisp. I have a Canon T7. And so on. So anyway, if that's not bad enough, here's some of the responses. Here's the quote-unquote photographer responding. Somebody said, I'm not a complete beginner. I have some knowledge. I was just changing my settings to try and get better quality photos, and I think I messed up entirely. I thought of telling them to find someone else. That would have been a good idea, but you would have needed to have done that a while back. But anyway, it's too close to their wedding day, and it's a small wedding, so I'm not too worried. It'll just be a small lawsuit too, so I hope you're not too worried about that. I just want to make sure it's all set before I go. Well, what exactly are you going to set? If you can't set your camera to get pictures that aren't blurry with your T7, check your backup camera. Oh, that's right, you probably don't have a backup camera. You probably only have a 50mm lens, kit lens that came with it. You probably don't have anything else. Probably don't even have a flash. Oh, this drives me crazy. I know you guys can tell this, but I'm telling you, over 40 years of seeing this over and over and over, it will drive you nuts, because it's just so disappointing for a bride to get junk pictures after their wedding. Even if your photographer delivers, a lot of times they're terrible. And I've seen some brides be fairly happy with some pictures I've looked at and thought, had I been the photographer at your wedding, A, I wouldn't have shot that picture, but B, if I did have that picture, you would never see it, because I'm not giving out anything that I don't want my name attached to. You photographers, you younger guys, if you're shooting weddings, whatever you're shooting, events, families, whatever, don't give people the garbage prints. Now, you're going to get a misfire every now and then. Your flash may misfire. You may bump your shutter. Not everything's going to be perfect all the time, but that don't mean you have to show your client that picture. Trash it and get rid of it. Only show your good work. Now, if I go to a wedding and I'm shooting 1,500 pictures, there's probably going to be 5 pictures where something, the camera misfocused, or there was a flash misfire, or something happened. So, it's going to happen to everybody, but, just don't show those. Only show the good work. So if you're shooting like bride and groom shots, I try to shoot 2 of every shot that I take. It only takes a second. It only takes like a half a second for your flash to recycle. So if you got the bride and groom, you can click, and you got 2 of them. That way, if there's a blink or something, you got them. I know you can see the back of your camera now. Back in the 80s and 90s, we couldn't. So I got used to shooting without seeing the image as I go, but I know things have changed, and that's a good thing. You can see if you got blinks or not, but it's still just faster to go ahead, wait that half second. Once you do it a few times, you don't even have to count. You can click your shutter, and you'll know when to click it again. You got 2 pictures, and if they did blink in one, you don't have to take the time to zoom in, back the screen, and look. Just shoot 2 pictures and be done with it. Worst case scenario, if it was the full length, you can crop it in and give them a full length and a 3/4 if you got 2 good pictures. So anyway, there's always a creative way to do it. But anyway, some of these responses just make it worse. I don't know what these people are thinking. This person says, check your lens. Mine was accidentally bumped to manual focus. I thought I may have dropped the lens or something. How do you think you might have dropped your lens? If I dropped this lens, you're going to hear me hollering, because I'm not going to be happy. It's insured, but that's a lot of trouble. I'm going to drop my lens. Geez, and especially, how would you not know if you dropped it? Anyway, I'm sorry to ramble. Okay, moving on. Trying to get my blood pressure down a little bit here. Now, this person was pretty good. Not to be mean, but you have to know your camera settings well before committing to a wedding. Absolutely. And beyond your camera settings, a wedding involves so much more than camera settings. You got flashes and people. That's the biggest thing in a wedding. The photography knowledge is secondary when you're shooting a wedding. That's a given. You have to know your photography equipment inside and out. Because when you get to a wedding, it's not about you standing there figuring out, do I want to shoot this at 2.8, I want to shoot this at 4, do I want to bounce flash. It's about a mom that's crying because something's upset, a dad that's going to, somebody is not happy over here because the flowers didn't get delivered on time, or the flowers are wrong, or the cake is wrong. There's always something wrong at a wedding most of the time. So you have to be able to take that scenario, because as a photographer, you're like the first one there, first person that's there to be, working for the event. I don't mean like aunts and uncles, that kind of stuff. But you have to be able to take that bride and say, look, let it go. Don't worry about it. We're all going to have a good time because they messed up the bottom layer of the cake. Nobody cares. Seriously, this is your chance, and I've done it many times, to take a bad situation and turn it into a good situation for you, because once you step in, your main thing is you have to build confidence with your clients. So if a situation pops up, and once you've done this long enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. Say the wedding cake, like I was talking about, didn't come in like they wanted, and the bride's upset, and the mom's mad, and the dad's mad, and whatever. This is your chance to go over and just say, hey, no big deal. This is your special day. Let's have fun. And you can take it from that point. And once you recapture that person, you make them happy, kind of forget about that situation. Now they are yours for the rest of the day. You can only go up from there. So just keep them laughing, keep them having a good time, because weddings are stressful times. They're fun for the bride, but they're also very, very stressful. That people have spent a lot of money. It's on a time crunch. You've got so many different people involved in so many different angles of the wedding. You got the tuxes, the bride's dresses, the maid of honor dresses, all that stuff, all the hair and the makeup and the cake delivery and the flowers and just so much stuff, and the minister coming in. There's always somebody that's going to be late or something that's wrong. This is where you step in and rise to the occasion and really let the client know that this is where they got their money's worth, is hiring you, because you're there to make it good. I can't tell you how many brides have called me after their wedding, after they get back from honeymoon and everything, and said, man, you really saved my wedding day. Thank you so much. And that is such a good feeling to do that. But if you don't know why your T7 isn't focusing, you don't need to be photographing a wedding. You don't need to be photographing a wedding until you've spent a year or so working with somebody else that knows how to photograph a wedding before you go out on your own. Go as a third or second photographer for a while. Never go as a number one photographer to a wedding not knowing how to photograph a wedding, how to handle situations and people at a wedding. Never, ever do that, because you give them photographers a bad name and you're going to get sued. And this person said they didn't really care because it was a small wedding. Now, you're going to have a small lawsuit to go with that small wedding if you're not careful. So, and there's no such thing as a small lawsuit, because once lawyers get involved, it gets high no matter what. But, being a photographer and working with other real photographers, and then seeing so many people get, I don't know if it's necessarily a scam or just people's lack of understanding, but it's just something my whole career that's really just drove me crazy. And I mentioned this to so many of my photographer friends, and they all agree with me. But if anybody has a good idea how we can fix this, how we can get some credentials in the hands of real photographers and say, hey, that person has this, they're at least a little bit legitimate. Just an idea. But let me give you some more of these answers. I do agree with this guy where you were saying you definitely have to know your camera settings. You got to know more than that, but that's a good start. They can't have a redo. That's exactly right. Weddings require a good low light lens, as well as knowing those settings. Each time the lighting changes and you go from 2 people to 8 people, he's on the general path. He's a lot closer than this photographer is. But anyway, and then we've got instructions on how to use your shutter and what ISO to use, just stuff that's not relevant to this. Let's see, I saw one. Oh, and this person, this is really funny. This person, it says this. I wish I could post it, but I don't want to show all these people's names. Don't worry. Topaz will save your blurry shots. Oh my God. Okay. I love Topaz. Don't get me wrong. I use Topaz almost daily. But you can't save all your blurry shots with Topaz. It's not a miracle program. It's there to increase the size, increase sharpness, and help with some slightly out of focus stuff. It's not going to take a blurry shot and put it back in focus. That's just, you've seen these crazy things on the internet where they'll have a blurry picture and then they'll run a scanner over it and all of a sudden it's beautiful, and it was black and white, now it's full color, and it was out of focus, now it's perfectly focused. And that's a lie. Don't believe none of that, okay? So if it's out of focus, you're not going to fix it. I'm sorry. Topaz, nobody's going to fix an out of focus picture. A photographer will fix that by not shooting it out of focus. That's how you don't get a blurry picture. You hire a photographer, a real photographer. Do some checking out, check their website, get some references anyway. I know I keep repeating myself, but this is literally, it's been my job for over 40 years. And this has been a problem since day one. I've been running into these people that you'll meet people. Hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a photographer. Hey, I'm a photographer too. Really, what do you shoot? Well, when I go on vacation, I take my iPhone. Okay, you're not a photographer. You're a picture taker. There's a difference. A photographer is somebody who has dedicated their career, their life to getting better photographs, to being able to shoot weddings, to specialize in what they're doing. You don't learn it overnight. Nobody learns it overnight. When I had been shooting 2 years, I wasn't near as good as I was when I've been shooting 5 years. When I was shooting 10 years, I was much better than I was when I've been shooting 5 years. So it's a growth chart, but you need to at least start out with the qualifications of a photographer. Like the first wedding I did came out good. There were no blurry pictures. Did I improve on that? Yes, I did improve on that. And you always need to improve in your field, it's whatever you're doing. But you cannot start out as a doctor going, well, I don't know. Let's give him heart surgery, see if that fixes him up. You know, you just can't do that. I'm sorry. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but you get the idea how much this just really bothers me when people go in to my field of work and just totally screw it up. It's just so frustrating. But anyway, I do have a few more I think I want you to see here before I go. Let's see. Can you post your settings that were used? I'm not trying to be rude, but everyone starts somewhere. And how new are you to photography? Apparently pretty new if you're not sure how to get your pictures back in focus. And you have a wedding this weekend. Holy cow, that would stress me out. And this, the photographer wrote back again. Photographer. I'm not super new, but I don't do it all the time. I usually use portrait mode. Isn't that a setting in your iPhone? I don't even know if my Canon R6 has a portrait mode. I know my iPhone has a portrait mode where it'll kind of blur the background. But I don't even think my Canon R6 has a portrait mode. I know how to set it to take portraits, but I don't think there's a button that says portrait. I don't know, maybe I just never looked for one. But anyway, I've been trying to branch out into my own, and they're awful. They're awful. I'll send it to you in the AM. I don't even get that. They're super new. They usually use portrait mode, whatever the heck that means. Maybe a T7 has a portrait mode like an iPhone. I don't know. I've been trying to branch out into my own. Well, the problem with branching out into your own is you haven't even got an own yet. You cannot show up to somebody's wedding and just screw it up. You'll get sued. And I almost hope that you do, because there's got to be an answer to this somewhere. Yes, it is the bride's responsibility to go check out the person you're hiring always. Anything that you're doing, before I hire anybody to do anything to work on my house, whatever, I always do at least a little bit of work, check out some of their work, get some references. So it's just frustrating as a photographer to work so hard your entire career and see these people just running out because they have a camera and think they're going to take pictures of weddings. It's unbelievable, actually. This person says utilize the auto setting. You should go work with them. They'll be a great pair to hire. Anyway, that's enough talk about the wedding, but I will finish with this one. Right below that one, as if that wasn't bad enough, here's this post. I got to get out of this site. It's going to kill me dead. It says, I am taking graduation pics for someone. Any recommendations for any type of setting I can use? I have a Canon Rebel T6. Any help would be great. Again, now this is just graduation pictures, but again, it's somebody's graduation pictures. They can be redone, but you're wasting their time and their effort and possibly their money. And what is it about the Canon Rebel T6 and T7? Everybody thinks they can shoot it. I don't know. I never had a T6 or a T7. It could be a great camera. I don't know. I'm a big Canon guy, but I've never had those. But anyhow, I'm sorry to beat a dead horse with this, but doing this for almost 41 years and just seeing this over and over repeatedly, people just getting terrible work from these so-called photographers. I just wish somebody had an idea that we could fix this and put some credentials in real photographers' hands, and that would say, hey, that way when you meet somebody, you can be like, here's my card, or here's my, whatever. I don't know what you would show them, but you can show them something that says, I know a little bit about photography. If my pictures are blurry, I can fix it a few days before your wedding. Don't you worry about that. It's just crazy. Anyway, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just old and grumpy, but I have seen enough of this in my life that it absolutely frustrates me to death. So anyway, I know there's some great photographers out there too. I'm not hagging on you guys. I'm just talking about these people that get a camera and think they can go do whatever. And they're going to screw up somebody's big day, and they're going to get sued. As well they should. Just as if I opened a doctor's office and started practicing medicine. It's just funny. Anyway, all right, guys, if you have any ideas how to fix this or anything we can do that would make it more legitimatized, is that a word? I don't think it is, but maybe it is now. For photographers, that would be great. I would love to see that happen before I'm dead and gone. That would be so nice. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think. And if we're helping you guys out, probably not much today other than just some old man complaining. But give us a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Have a good day.